Hey, did you hit live yet?
I did.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey, what's up?
What's up?
What's up? So I blamed the late start on you, and Sean says, I have a hunch it's craft computing ordering Domino's and struggling to get the coupon code working. Which is oddly specific, and yet you're also probably not wrong. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 340, your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Spotify or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, sometimes some Star Trek. All super chats are read on the air so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel, although an even better way to help support the show is go buy some merch, why don't you? Craftcomputing.store. We've got custom laser engraved pint glasses with nucleated bottoms in them that I design and manufacture right here in-house. Every glass is lovingly caressed by me before being put into the box.
So he's saying sanitize it before you use it.
Definitely, that's highly recommended. Let's see. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server, where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the awesome community that hangs out over there. And one last announcement, we are closing ordering for the Axe Effect units. The final run of the beta will be closing on Sunday, so you have until Sunday night to get your orders in if you want in on the beta. Other than that, we will not be shipping anything until the retail launch sometime October, November-ish. So if you want to check it out, craftcomputing.com. And welcome to the show.
All right. Oh, my beer's still in the fridge right there.
Remember, a wizard is never late. They arrive exactly when they intend to.
That's right.
Very true. Neither of us are wizards, I don't think, but, you know, the
Well,
rule
I
still
wouldn't tell
applies,
you
I
if it
believe.
worked.
Right. The first rule of wizard school is
You don't talk about it.
don't talk about wizard. Yeah. Cody's currently having a Captain Morgan and Coke, camping on the
Ooh.
Kern River, using Starlink to connect. I have done a couple live shows via Starlink. It's a lot of fun. You know, we need to do like a remote
camping
show,
live,
like a live camp show where we're just at a campground or out in the mountains on battery.
That would be fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
That would be, we'll just all, too bad we couldn't build like a deck and float down the river as we're doing it.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I used to know someone with a pontoon boat.
That would be so much fun. We're in the middle of a lake, just floating here.
That would be incredible to do a live show from the middle of like Detroit Lake or something like that.
Yeah, that would be so much.
That'd be epic. We might have to
somehow
start working on logistics of that. That sounds like fun.
I wonder how much power that would take.
Not a lot. Starlink, surprisingly enough, is like 80 watts or something like that.
That's nothing.
And I've got it's not the biggest battery in the world, but I've got a fairly good sized battery, and I've got solar banks, although we couldn't use the solar banks very late into the evening. But no, I bet we could run a laptop and a couple of microphones and a couple of things for 2 hours.
Especially if we just had like a round table microphone or something like that, we'd probably be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. I mean, it would be fun to each have an individual mic too.
Right. Anyway, we've got a good show for you planned tonight. We've got some leaks of Zen 5 performance, and it is looking... The AMD train keeps marching right along at that 15 to 20% IPC, and Zen 5 looks like it might be about the same. The Rabbit AI companion pin. Man, the... Pun intended, the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper every week with this damn thing. There's new exploits. There's an undisclosed data breach. There's leaked
Oh,
APIs,
this one was fun. I
yeah,
laughed
this
at
one
that
was a lot of fun. I figured you would have fun with this one too, John.
Yes.
Um, let's see. Couple little fun projects that I found, and we've got some beer news to wrap the show up at the
We
end. But first off, let's go ahead and officially kick the show off. John, what do you got lined up for tonight?
Oh, hang on a second. I gotta step over.
Doesn't even have him in front of him. What the heck?
I gotta keep him cool. I just wanted to give you a crotch shot. That's all.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was.
I don't mean to brag, but hold on.
I'm just saying. I got beer and stuff. No. I have a
That's why your wife married you?
Yeah. My beer collection. Duh.
Right. So.
Yeah, it's worth a lot. If I don't drink it anyways. I have a collaboration with Freaky Friday, Toppling Glass, and Other Half Brewery. It's HDHC Broccoli Special Reserve Double IPA.
Ooh.
Yes. So we're gonna try this. It says it's still has yeast floaties in it, so I have to be aware of that. But I've heard of the broccoli IPA, but it's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah. So I've got a big rare one and a medium standard.
Wait, what is this? This is 883.
8.3. Okay. Well, I've got you beat, at least with my big one. It's a 10.5.
Okay, and mine's
still an IPA, which is fun. And I think I'm going to start with that one because I kind of want to let this one warm up and drink it and get like the full thing.
Oh, yeah.
So this is from...
Oh, that is good.
Gosh. This is from Abomination Brewing in collaboration with Tox Brewing. This is the Rare Frog. Extra rare, extra froggy. Triple dry hopped IPA. I don't know if I'm going to get demonetized for showing the can or not. Rare Frog.
That's some art cover.
Yeah.
It's scientific. It's educational.
Ooh, that is hazy. Oh man. Man, is that ever hazy.
Yeah, this is orange juice looking on mine. I do see some floaties.
Yeah. I don't see any floaties yet. I'm pouring carefully. No floaties in mine. I think we're all good there. Oh boy. We're literally starting our days off with Tang tonight, it looks like.
Oh yeah.
That's incredible.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Those are spot on too. Each other.
The thing is though, we can't see the nucleation.
No, we can't. It's the worst beer for this glass. You have to take my word for it, and there will still be bubbles on the top of the glass when we're done. So that's how you'll know. No, I was looking at my monitor. Those are spot on for color. Like they're...
Ah. These are hazy.
Oh. That's got a kick to it.
Really? No, this is smooth. This is very smooth.
This one is not.
Well, you're what? Almost 2 points above mine.
Yeah, 10.5.
Yeah, so 8.3. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this has a little kick, and this is going back a few years for hazies. So
the acid burniness.
Yeah, this is like a 2014.
An original style.
Yes.
They were still learning how to do things.
Second drink was much better.
Okay. It could have been the bottom of the can still at the very top.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to sucking that one down. Let's see in the chat. We've got Reverend chiming in. He's drinking a Square Mile cider out of Portland, Oregon. Imperial Blackberry cider, 9.1%, 3.8 on Untapped. Williams got a Bourbon County Stout, 2022, 13.9. Harley's got a Firestone Mind Haze Cosmic Crusher Juicy IPA, clocking in at 9.5. I didn't know Firestone made juicy IPAs.
That's just, yeah, that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
I love Firestone
Yeah.
IPAs. So
I didn't know they made hazy or juicy IPAs though. Like,
no, usually they make
that's
a
a new
very
one
nice
for me.
classic West Coast style IPA.
Right.
My monitor
Novella's got a Lord Hobo Altered Existence Imperial Oatmeal Stout, 13%,
Of course he
3.97
does.
Untapped.
Why wouldn't he?
Jason's got a Big Smile Citrusy Imperial IPA, Hop Valley, 9.2%. Little local flavor, Hop Valley, Bend,
Yeah.
Oregon.
Oh, is that smile one? I really like that one.
Yeah, Big Smile. Yeah.
Yeah, I had like 2 of those last week. Very nice citrus flavor. Really
I have not
enjoyed
had that one yet. So
Yeah,
Well-
it's for a 9.5.
Mhm.
You're like, this is good, and it's that $2.98 for the 19-ounce can.
Oh, nice.
Really solid stuff. It's
Yeah.
right up there with
Okay.
the cryo hop and all that other stuff.
Yeah. Usually I go Cryo Hop or what is the Maximus, the Lagunitas,
Ninkasi.
or no, Ninkasi's the Megalodon. I was thinking.
Okay.
I think it's Lagunitas, the big Maximus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Maximus.
Um,
But yeah, no, this one, if you're looking for more of that, it is definitely a lot sweeter and citruser than some of the other ones, than the cryo hop. So if you want
Okay.
more of a smooth citra flavor, it really has a
Ooh.
much bigger, nice brightness to it. So I like it.
I will keep my eye out for that. Let's see. Post any good videos lately? In any 150,000 comments about how you're using Linux wrong?
Yes, your product's horrible, Jeff.
Yeah. No, it's been a fun week. It's been an interesting week. So if you haven't seen it, I posted a video about switching to Linux. I've been talking about it on this show for almost the last 2 months. In the video, I took the Linux 30-day challenge. Truth be told, it's like been 7 or 8 weeks. Like it has not been a small amount of time.
Oh, that's right. Yours.
And the interesting thing is, a common thread that I got was people locking into specific things that I had said and going, oh, you need to just switch this one thing and it'll solve literally every problem you had. And for me, it was my desktop environment. It was tiling blows in the OS that I chose. They're like, you didn't do any research at all if you needed to arrange your windows in a specific way. It's like, why wouldn't Linux be able to arrange windows in a specific way? Why is that something I would have to research? Number one, I asked the Linux community. Number two, a lot of people didn't pay attention to the fact that the window management, while annoying and broken in a couple of different applications, including Zoom and Discord and Resolve, 3 of my main workflow applications, as it turns out, there were numerous other problems that I mentioned in the video that switching a distro is not going to solve. AAC not being present as a decoder in Resolve. So if you record video on a camera and then you want to use it in Resolve, you have no audio unless you go through like a 3-minute decode and conversion process, and then you're left with a separate WAV file that you import and then resync with. Why would I go through that process? That is so stupid. But I was simultaneously too lazy to switch my workflow around and learn how to use Linux properly when it comes to arranging your windows on your desktop. Yet I also, during the same time, switched from Premiere to Resolve, switching my entire workflow on its head. So which is it?
Also, all of that just makes you frustrated too, and then you're just like, you start noticing all the tiniest of things, and but you remember that too. I mean, sure, in 2 to 3 years, you might not care, or it's gonna be, I've already found the workaround. But the whole point was, I've been doing this for 8 weeks, whatever, 30-day challenge.
Yeah,
there's gonna be some things that will easily deter people from going to Linux, and especially when they've been using Windows or Mac for 30 plus years. So, you basically have to adopt Linux from the beginning or there's going to be always a learning curve. I mean, yeah, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Any new operating, and you have the right to complain about it.
Right. And the point of the video wasn't necessarily it wasn't assigning blame to anything. Because the other main parallel that I find just wholly ironic and tone deaf. And I'm talking to the Linux community as a whole. There's already people, well, Linux has different window managers. I know. They should work. All of them should work. You should be able to have a choice, and if you want different features in something, fine. But GNOME doesn't even know how to window snap properly half the time. And yeah, it's annoying. Is that you get the Linux people on there. I'm talking generically here. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone in particular, except all of you. When the Linux community gets on to say, I've been running Linux since 2004, and I've never once run into a problem. Yeah, you have. You just don't want to admit it. I said at the end of my video, I want to know, those who have converted to Linux, how long have you been on Linux? What applications work? What workflow do you use? What is your use case for? But also, be honest with me, what's broken? What doesn't work? What do you find difficult or annoying or anything else? No one answered that question. Sorry, 2 people out of like 3,500 comments answered that question. You know, I switched to Linux in 2007, and, you know, for the most part, it works great. I open Chrome, I open Firefox, all my apps seem to work, but, you know, there's one really annoying bug that always crops up is pulse audio. It garbles my audio when I'm watching YouTube videos from time to time. It's like, thank you. Thank you for just mentioning an annoyance. Because if we don't mention them, they don't get fixed. So there was that, but coupled with, I switched to Linux and everything just works. And I went, okay, well, I'm going to take my workflow and I'm going to switch to Linux. And they say, oh, your workflow won't work for Linux. Okay, so does everything work? Or is it broken? Well, that's Resolve's fault. Well, no, it's a Linux problem if Resolve works fine on Windows and Mac OS and doesn't work on Linux. No, it's not Linux's fault. I didn't say it was Linux's fault. I said it's a Linux problem.
Yep.
I can't switch to Linux if this app doesn't work. Now I don't give a crap whose fault it is. The fact of the matter is it didn't work. And not saying anything about it is not going to fix it. And so that was also like a common thread through comments that I was getting of, they don't even want to admit there are problems. And if you openly talk about it, they're like, oh, you're just using it wrong, or you're on the wrong distro, or why did you install GNOME instead of KDE? And Plasma will fix all your issues, while conveniently ignoring every other legitimate issue that I had.
What do you think is easier to do? I'm just going to use one OS as an idea, or one going from a Windows all your life and switching to Linux, and having to learn Linux, or using Linux forever, but then having to switch to Windows and learn how to manipulate Windows to work efficiently. What do you think is harder?
They're both equally hard because people, as a species, are creatures of habits.
Yeah.
You develop workflows regardless of whether or not you think you do. When you sit down in your car, you have an orientation and an order of operations in which you sit down, buckle your seatbelt, put your cell phone down, plug it in, turn on your car, adjust your mirror, check your radio, look over things, back up. Like, there's an order of operations that you do subconsciously, that when you get into a new vehicle, if your cell phone goes in a different place, you'll try to shove it into a vent that was a slot on your old car, and you go, oh, crap, and it throws you for a loop.
Memory.
Right. Yeah, it throws you for a loop. And so migrating to a dissimilar environment is difficult regardless of the situation. I don't think either one of them are inherently more difficult, except for one key thing. Now, one thing I didn't mention, I felt like I was rambling for like 30 minutes in that video. One thing I didn't mention was throughout the entire process, I was trying not to use console, because that's one of the biggest things that people complain about. I don't want to type things in. I worked on Linux for a living. I don't want to type things in. Like, I would much rather point and click and drag and drop and just get things done. And this ties into another common thing that I saw. Is I had to install a couple specific drivers. I needed to install NVIDIA drivers for my graphics card. So I went to the NVIDIA website, and the Linux community go, whoa, whoa, whoa. You never, ever download the officially sanctioned drivers from the website. You use your distro's repo.
Okay.
Okay? Doesn't that... Why? No one would answer why. They just said, it's the way we do it. And it's like, well, then what the fuck is this one up here on the website for?
Yeah.
I had to install the Decklink drivers. Well, there's a repo for that. Yeah, there's also a point and click, and it's an install manager. And it installed, and it worked. And they want it to be difficult. And there are some things today that are infinitely better than they used to be. One of them is you can install things from generic install packages, app images, for example, which download the dependencies along with the application, and then you can install them. But I got yelled at for installing Resolve on Zorin instead of installing Resolve on Red Hat, because that's the officially sanctioned distribution. Was Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It's like, well, Red Hat Enterprise Linux doesn't solve some of the other things that I wanted to do in my workflow. Well, I guess Linux just isn't for you then.
Well,
I guess so.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with all the other like tutorials when I've ever looked up anything Linux is, oh, you have to go to this site to go, and this is how you install it. But then you have another forum that tells me, no, don't do that. You have to go here. Like, but wait, they're telling me to install the same thing, essentially from a different location, but they're both going to work. And there's a million different versions from there, and they don't download the official one because there's a bug when you have it with this operating system. You know, that's what's, I guess, very frustrating. And then that's what happens when you're not one of the big two, essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, you're the evil stepchild, step cousin, whatever, you know, the ugly redheaded stepchild of the OS systems out there right now. I mean, Android is looking better. That's something bad.
Linux has the same problem that Android worked its way through, and that is fragmentation.
Yeah.
Android has 30 different launchers, and every major manufacturer from Samsung to LG to Motorola has their own proprietary launcher. But you know what? The apps are universal now.
Yep.
Hey, Linux, figure that out.
And they've been around for what, 50, 60 years?
1980s, but
is it Linux? I thought early 90s. So yeah, so
yeah, late 80s, early 90s. I think 92 officially Linux kernel.
Yeah, okay. I went a little far on that one, but I thought it was
right.
Late 80s.
That's been 60 years.
No, 40 years.
Yeah. But there's some things that need figured out. And I don't care whose fault it is, but there's things that need figured out. And there's a lot of things that Windows is a lot better at. You know what ran every single program that I needed it to run? Windows. Yep. Windows has its annoyances, oh sure. It has privacy concerns. Yeah, absolutely. Adobe has privacy concerns. Absolutely, especially with the latest terms of service. But I wanted to switch. I wanted to see if I could switch. I'm still on it. I don't know how much longer I'm going to run this, although I'm kind of becoming complacent in the, like, I would then have to switch again. And
well, yeah, I was going to say, maybe you should do a video of, I've been on Linux for 2 months now. I'm going to switch back to Windows for 1 week. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm either going to enjoy it and be like caressing an old friend, or I'm going to pull my hair out being like, I got so used to the other one. The other one now feels more comfortable than this new one, than the old one. Don't know. That might not be a nice, quick little video.
Yeah. Coffee sends over $2. Thank you so much. This will be the year of the Linux desktop. No. Novella says, my first experience with Linux desktop was Mandrake in 99. That takes me back. I knew a couple friends who ran variants of Linux in the late 90s. My first delve into a non-Windows, non-Mac operating system, believe it or not, was FreeNAS. Way back in, like, 2005? I wanted to run a server because I had, like, 3 desktops in my apartment and wanted to run a server that I could transfer files between them. And so I installed a FreeNAS server. I believe it was FreeNAS in 2005. So, FreeBSD at the time.
That was, same. But I think it was like 2009 for me. Something like that.
Yeah. And then right around 2006, might have been 2005 also. I also had a Mac desktop. It was a G3 tower that I had upgraded to a G4 with a Motorola 733 processor, I want to say. It was starting to chug along with a couple things with some of the newer OS releases with Tiger and Jaguar and things like that. And, or Leopard, I guess it was, 10.4, 10.5. I went, let me give Linux a shot. And so I had, Canonical send me an Ubuntu CD, for both x86 and PowerPC. And I installed Ubuntu on my PowerPC G3 Macintosh. That was my first Linux desktop.
Yeah. No, the first time I ever touched Linux was the first time I got like a Raspberry Pi. And then all it was for me was just like, oh, this is the tiny little computer that I can browse the internet on. And that's all I used it for. Yeah. And I used it for 2 days. And I was like, that's cool. Never used it again.
Right.
And then people were like, you could turn this into a gaming system. They're like, oh, all right. Well, thank you.
Well, that's different. Yeah.
That's different now. And then I installed a media. What was that? What's that media server that everyone uses on? Oh gosh, what was that? The one that goes in like steals all the outside streams. Anyways, but yeah, that's what I did with. I think it was like a Raspberry Pi 1B. Something like that.
Yeah, the original Model B. Oh, you're talking Popcorn TV or whatever it was.
Popcorn TV, thank you. Yeah, that was the one.
Allegedly,
yeah, no. Because at the time, it was the only thing that could play MKVs.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I got a bunch of MKVs because it only had subtitles.
Yeah. Roy sends over $2 and says, coffee, no year of the Linux desktop. Yeah, I agree with that. Daryl sends over $2 Thank you so much, Daryl. Part of the driver download bull is closed code. See, finally an honest answer. We don't like the proprietary download because it's not 100% open source. You don't know what you're installing on your computer. Cool.
I've been doing that for how long now already?
Yeah. Can I just say, not everything has to be open source. I love open source. Do not misunderstand me. But I also respect trade secrets, and I also understand the requirement of high-end companies and corporations to keep some of that stuff close to their chest. NVIDIA drivers notwithstanding. AMD drivers notwithstanding. I also love that people got on me for yelling at GIMP, and they're like, you're yelling at those 3 innocent developers, and all they ever tried to do was make you a photo editor, and you're comparing it to Adobe, which you give $1,000 a year. Of course it's going to be worse. I would give someone $1,000 a year to use a photo editor that is not freaking Adobe Photoshop. I'm happy to pay for it. I don't care if it's open source or closed source. I just need an alternative. That's what I was saying. It has nothing to do with the devs. Have nothing to do with me, being so entitled to free software. Again, in the same breath, I paid $300 for Resolve. Like, I'm willing to pay for software. It's not that big of a deal.
Arch says Vista made him switch to Linux. I was like, yeah, I could see that.
Yep.
Nobody wants Tiles.
Yeah. Well, Tiles was Windows 8.
Oh, yeah. What? No, I thought Vista had...
No, Vista was the Aereo glass effect.
Or what? Oh, God, I hated that. Yeah,
Vista was Aero Glass. Yeah, Windows 8 was the tiles with the live animation called the Metro interface until they got sued by someone who ran a desktop manager that was called Metro. And then they had to rename it to Modern OS interface. Or Modern UI. But yeah, it was Metro or Tiles for a while.
Yeah. No.
And that crap came to server. And they decided that it was a fantastic idea to eliminate the start menu. So to shut down your server, you had to do it from command line only. Sound familiar, Linux folks? Or go into the tile menu, go to settings, find the shutdown option, and click through like 2 or 3 different pop-ups to shut down a server 2012 system. It's the most ridiculous interface ever. So, all this Linux talk makes me want to fire up my 2011 iMac running Linux. For a while, I owned a 20... Was it 2011? Yeah, it was 2011. I owned a 2011 iMac. It was an i5, and I paid extra to get the Radeon 6950 2GB card. That was a ballin' little system. Was that 2011? Gosh, I can't remember when that was. I'd have to think back. It was a 27-inch iMac, and it was freaking gorgeous. Someone on Craigslist thought it was the base model of it, and sold it to me for $700. No, yes, please.
All right. Oh, man, geez. We just went on about Linux the whole entire time.
We spent 20 minutes talking about Linux.
Speaking of Linux.
Speaking of Linux.
Has nothing to do with it.
No, we don't have any Linux. All right, we're done with Linux talk. No more hot Linux talk.
Although that will get enough comments going within the first 20 minutes. You might want to change the title of this to 20-minute Linux, 40-minute Linux rant.
Yeah. And
then you'll get a lot of comments boosting this episode.
Funny enough, still shorter than my video. Anyway, AMD launching Zen 5 sometime later this year. This is Granite Ridge, and apparently an engineering sample of this chip has cropped up in IDA 64 benchmarks. And oh, is it a spicy little number. Zen 5 purported 9950X. That is a 16-core, 32-thread chip. So, as confirmed, we're not getting a core boost with Granite Ridge. Supposedly upwards of 55% faster than the 13900K. Holy crap.
That, well, okay, how many times have we seen leaked stuff and, it's been clocked that way? And actually, for the most part, a lot of that has been true. It's usually like 15% overdone, 10-15%. So if that holds up, the idea that we've been talking, or that idea that I mentioned, that's still extremely impressive. You're talking at least even 35% boost is a lot.
Yeah. No, this is what makes me think it might be legit, because these numbers I think are within reach, and these are very specific numbers and very specific commonly used CPU instructions. That's FP32, FP64. As well as AES encryption, which typically uses AVX for its instruction set. 45% faster AES than the 7950X that it's replacing, than the Zen 4 16-core. 39% faster at FP32, 39% faster at FP64. And then you come down here, and this is kind of the same margin that the 7950X is in relation to the 13900K. Like, these numbers all kind of check out, where, roughly, 7 to 10% faster in AES encryption over AVX. 15% faster in FP32 and FP64. 60% faster.
Yeah.
In FP32. Yeah. That's just insane. And I've said this the last couple of Zen launches. Like, when Zen 2 came out, Zen 2 blew our minds because they went, we got 12% instruction per clock improvements year over year over Zen Plus by going to 7 nanometer. And people lost their minds. And then they went, we got 15% year over year by going from Zen 2 to Zen 3. And people lost their minds. And then we got 18% going from Zen 3 to Zen 4. And people went, is it really that much faster? And now they're going, yeah, it's going to be another 15, 18%. It's like, okay, but really, is it really that much? Yes, the numbers say it's that much faster. And look, it's one thing to take benchmarks from a company with a grain of salt. You usually need to swallow the container. You grab your pint of
bath salts, but and it could just be one of those, in this one category we are, right.
And that was my first reaction to the title of this article, was up to 55% faster than okay, which specific instruction set? Is it like NPU related stuff? Yeah, obviously the 2080 Ti is 98% faster at ray tracing than the 1080 Ti, which had no ray tracing hardware. Like, we've seen that song and dance before. No, this is FP32, FP64, AVX 512. Like, this is a legit
big swing. Yeah.
Generational improvement. Yeah.
Now, did it say when it was coming? I didn't see it, because they said this is still a chip to be leaked benchmark, but I didn't see a potential release.
They have officially been announced. The release is sometime in July.
Okay, all right.
So this article, but tail end of July, I believe. But
so soon. So we'll probably it'll probably be mentioned in the next 4 episodes or so after this one.
Right.
If there's a confirmation.
And sometimes on IDA64 and 3D Mark and whatnot, we see fake scores being uploaded purporting like new hardware, unreleased hardware, whatever else. Those are pretty easy to sweep under the rug. Those are pretty easy to identify, to go, yeah, there's no way. This is all kind of right in line with what AMD has been doing over the last 3-4 years, and also right in line with their purported IPC improvements of 18% year over year. I have no reason not to believe this is true. And that's exciting. I don't know what you need that kind of CPU speed for. Hardware is definitely outpacing software at this point in our generation, in our current cycle. But it's faster.
Yeah, no, it's so funny now. It's getting to the time where I can start affording like a bunch of stuff we used to talk about a couple years ago. I mean, like, our minds are blown. I'm like, oh, I can get a really sweet system for $500 now.
I told you I have a new motherboard and CPU for you, didn't I?
Yes, I know. It's just,
okay.
Well, and it's just I didn't say this in the pre-show because obviously, I was late.
Yeah.
Wink, that was all my fault.
Hashtag John's fault.
Yeah, exactly. No, literally just got done with this past Saturday everything I've been working on since March,
Yeah.
and my nephew's wedding and everything that took up all of my time.
Oh yeah, no,
And
I went drinking with all of the rest of your family this weekend. That was wonderful.
exactly, everyone was like inviting me over, and I was like, I'm dead exhausted. I don't know about you guys. And the weirdest part too is they all drank more than me. I could because I couldn't. I
Yeah.
had to be active and I had to be aware, and things still got messed up. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. And then 2 days after that, the cleanup of it still got messed up. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until about yesterday and today I was like, I can feel this weight, and I was like, I want to go do something now. And then my wife was like, we need one more week of break. I was like, okay, all right, I'll give it a week.
Yeah.
But now I'm excited to go do things on the weekend instead of just constant farm work all the time and
Right.
prepping.
Yeah.
So,
But no, I had beers with Steve and Mike and Aaron last night. So
oh, that's what they were saying.
that's what yeah. So
Oh, so you got to meet Aaron? Yeah, is that the
I got to
first
meet
time you
Aaron
met
finally.
Aaron?
I've heard about Aaron.
Aaron's a character.
Aaron lived up to every expectation I had.
Oh, he's so much fun. He's so much fun.
No, got to
Even-
catch up with Mike. OGs of Talking Heads might remember. I believe it was episode 9.
So he crashed it too. Like,
yeah,
he was like, all right, I'm just here.
No, it wasn't 9 because 9 was the beginning of December. That was our in-person show at Barrel and Keg.
Barrel and
which is-
Keg.
which
No,
is
it
no
was
longer
before
there.
that. Yeah.
No, it was our New Year's show that
Yes.
Mike was on, and so we had the three brothers. We had Mike, Steve, and John all on one show. I think it was episode 12.
Something
I
like
wanna
yeah. If
say
anyone
12
wants to
or
go back
13?
and look,
Yeah.
It-
So Mike
it's-
has been on the podcast before.
at least once, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but oh, did they go down to Salem?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We took him to Shades of Brew and Sandy Am.
Okay. Yeah, no, because he was asking me what to do or where to go, and I was like, I'm at work, I can't go right now.
Yeah.
And but he was supposed to do a review with me, and I told him, like, I slept until 12. I literally am exhausted. My legs hurt. I can't stand. I still went over to see him later that day, and he's still like, you gotta try this beer. Now try this beer. And he opened up a mason jar and was like, and now you gotta try this one.
Yeah. I love Mike.
Oh God, they're all fun. It's just like I wanted him to come here, and I had my nephew's now father-in-law. They're from England, and they're originally from Poland,
Uh-huh.
and they drink like heavily in Poland, like a lot of vodka.
Yeah.
But he really likes beer, but he likes multi beer, but he's very just interested in alcohol in general.
Yeah. Man after my own heart.
And then so when I showed him all of my stuff, because I was just trying to be polite, and they got their wedding ready for the wedding here at my house, and I was just like, okay, I'm just trying to be polite. This is the second time I've ever met you.
Yeah.
You know, trying to still get. And then as soon as I showed him my studio, he was like, oh. And then I have bottles of bourbon around here. I want to try that. I want to try that. And then I showed him all the beers I had.
He turned into Steve at my studio.
Yes, essentially. And then I gave him some of the Brafir Fire.
Oh, you still have some of that?
Oh yeah, I still have. And he's like, I could drink this. I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, I can't drink a whole bottle, but I totally get it.
Right.
And then I showed him some pickle beers. I showed him like, and this bottle's like worth $125. And he's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was a fun time. And even at the wedding, they went and had at all the reception tables, it was a bottle of wine, a bottle of champagne, a bottle of cider, and a bottle of vodka for everyone. And each table only sat 6. So after every toast, everyone had to drink something, some form of shot. And so you had your options of alcohol or non-alcoholic option. Obviously, most people took the vodka.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a fun reception too.
No, I've actually had beers twice with Steve over the last week. He and I went out on Friday, and
Yeah.
and had a couple pints. And Steve wasn't aware of the amazing Chinese restaurant we have down here, so I introduced him to that. And
He
he's like,
told me about that. He did. Yeah. He was talking about that. He's like, oh, that was a pretty good. It was fun.
yeah,
But yeah. So now, hopefully, starting around, I'll get. Oh, my server crashed because the makeup artist unplugged my server or the editing rig, and then the next day I booted it up and it said no bootable device found.
Oh no!
And I was like, oh no, you're kidding me! You're kidding me! And then I took it to work and I got it and I was like, okay, I found an image. I put a Windows stick in it and it said, okay, reboot from this image. Recover. I was like, okay, it works, which was like 2 weeks ago. So like, okay, that's fine. I didn't lose anything because I was so busy. I didn't do anything.
Well, like I said, I have a new motherboard and CPU for you, and I think it's one you're really gonna like.
Yes, I would use it. My point is, I now feel like I have time to go do things on the weekend of like, hey, I'm gonna go do this now. All right,
Yeah.
So now we can get together.
Some people legit got mad that sometimes I get hardware donations. Sometimes people go like, hey, I have this thing that I'm not using anymore. I just upgraded it. I don't want to go through the hassle of selling it. Could you use it on your channel for some kind of content? And I went, yeah. Like I'm never gonna say no to that unless it's something like legitimately like, no, I'll never use that. But sometimes you get these wild ideas in your head that, hey, it'd be really nice to have this piece of hardware for this particular
You never know.
idea or this particular application or whatever else. So when those come across my desk, it's like, yeah, okay. In the case of the last, big donation I got, someone donated a Threadripper motherboard and a 2970WX 24-core processor. And I went, that's really generous of you. Of course I'd love that. I've only ever worked with the 2950 and I'd love to check out the 24 core and see how it works and maybe do something with that. Well, like I knew what I wanted to do with it and I wanted to give it to Rhett for a video editing machine. And but then unavailability of parts, like this was 2022 and it's like nothing's in stock. I can't get a power supply to run that damn thing, let alone a graphics card. And so it just kind of sat on the shelf for a while. But then, a couple of months ago, I went, I think I finally have everything I need to get Rhett like a kick-ass, editing rig. Yeah. And so I built that for him. I posted that video and people went, oh, I wish people just gave me 24-core CPUs. If you weren't using it, why didn't you hand it? I don't know why I went George Takei there, but it did. Oh my. The day I posted that video, someone else reached out and said, I just upgraded my rig. I have an X399 Tai Chi M, which is the micro ATX Threadripper board that I've always wanted to check out. I saw it when it was released at CES and I've never been able to get my hands on one. He goes, and a 2970WX, which is the exact same CPU I gave Rhett. He goes, I don't have a need for it anymore. Like, do you need it? And I went, John needs a new rig. Like, literally, that was my thought. And I'm like, people are mad that I just gave, Rhett a 2970WX, and I just got another one. Yeah, I'm going to give it to John just to fuck with him.
Just a piss. Yeah. I love it. Sounds perfect.
Look, it is good to be a YouTuber at times, but you realize I deal in used hardware. I buy everything that you see on the channel. I don't get, I get a lot of crap for free. I get a lot of shiny new stuff for free. But I also buy a lot of stuff that actually gets me my main views. So
yeah,
this is not a cheap operation over here.
No, I mean, that's the thing. Unless you're like, even the million subscriber ones, they're still buying stuff.
Yeah.
For events and things like that. Unless it's this video is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. And we got 100% donations. Yeah, they're still a percentage of equipment and props and stuff.
If I get sponsored from someone and they give me cash, I'm spending cash to make more content. Like, that's how this industry works. Like,
yeah.
The only reason I can sell that advertisement is because I get enough views on the content that I produce because I spent money to make the content. And so it is cyclical.
Even then, yeah, and then even then, the other stuff that's in that video you might have gotten paid for, you had to buy.
Right.
It's not just, they didn't give you 100%. They just said, here's a board, or here's a graphics card, or here's this case.
Right.
Well, you had to buy the stuff to fill that case, to use that board, to do all that things.
Yeah.
You had to buy, and not being the same thing every time too.
Yeah.
It's, here's the same board, but it's a new case.
Right.
Voila, or a new graphics card or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. That you got to cut, and then you have to come up with the ideas and do the research and all of that stuff. So,
yep.
Luckily, we do have a really cool community at the Discord. You should guys join. That does help out with some interesting and weird ideas. I would highly recommend checking that out. Links in the description below. Minimum
they
$1
cost me as much money as I cost them. It's a really nice symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. They do come up with some pretty good ideas, and it's fun to have a bunch of brains coming up with just silly, nonsensical stuff, or nice, good commentary to contrast your own. But that's a rabbit hole that is for a different story. But speaking of rabbit holes, Jeff.
What, is Hops and Brews doing something?
No, I was going to say we have a...
I know. The Rabbit R1 AI companion pin. The little thing that you're supposed to wear on your chest and then hold your hand in front of it, and it shoots an Android interface onto your hand, I guess, and you ask it questions, and then it uses ChatGPT to give you wrong answers. Which, as it turns out, is basically like the world's cheapest Android device, and the Rabbit R1 is literally just an app, which I think we all could have guessed.
We did.
Just an APK that you can run on any hardware. Doesn't have to be projected. And that was kind of the big revelation a couple of weeks ago. We did cover that on the channel. I think actually last time you were on, John.
It was the last time I was on.
So a month ago, we covered the Rabbit R1 and the things that had been uncovered about its workings and underpinnings. Ha ha ha. Oh, come on. That was better than the second rabbit hole joke of the day. So, there has been a group that has been kind of poking at the rabbit. Poking at the hardware, poking at the software. You get this with any new release. You get a couple of security researchers with a wild hair up their ass. Oh, I can go on for days. I have 3 kids. You think I don't have dad jokes?
I was gonna say the puns are endless with you.
They just figured something was afoot.
It was a lucky foot.
A lucky foot. How far do you want to go, John? Come on, challenge me.
I'll go deep as the rabbit hole can go, Jeff.
All right, Alice, game is yours.
I was gonna say the same thing. I know he's gonna do an Alice in Wonderland reference.
TikTok, I'm late, mother. Anyway, with every new release of hardware, especially one that has a lot of venture capital behind it, especially one that's as highly lauded or anticipated as the Rabbit R1, you get security researchers who start poking around. Well, this group started off as a small group that wanted to jailbreak the Rabbit R1 to open up the hardware, make it possible to run other applications, maybe tap into their APIs, figure out how they were doing their backhaul and that kind of stuff. And that led to the discovery that it was basically just an application that ran on bog standard Android hardware with a projector in it. Who could have seen that coming?
Wow.
They quickly offloaded the APK after they had rooted the device. They installed it on other devices. You can download this APK right now. You can run it on your smartphone, and you can get free access to ChatGPT for as long as the API keys are valid for. And we thought that was the end of the story. Oh, that's not the end of the story. So, as part of their research, Rabbitude, as they are called, disclosed potential vulnerabilities to the developers of the Rabbit R1. And the vulnerabilities that they disclosed were that there were 4 API keys, access keys, software keys, that were hard-coded into the firmware of the Rabbit R1. Which is Infiltration 101. It's DevOps 101. You do not hard-code your keys. You issue certificates for access to the keys. I didn't think I had to explain that, and I don't even deal with this crap. But what they had done is literally hard-coded their API keys into the application itself, which are very easily dumped. And so, let's see.
I thought they removed.
I'm trying to get. No. There's a timeline, and so I'm on timeline piece 1.
Okay.
Right, yeah. So, here we go. Today we were made aware. Oh no, sorry. In the last article, we announced that Rabbit had hard-coded keys in their code base for 11 Labs, Azure, Yelp, and Google Apps. So, 11 Labs, Azure, Yelp, and Google Apps API keys were hard-coded into the code base of the APK. And they could be dumped, and they could be accessed. And Rabbitude, being the security researchers that they are, disclosed this to the Rabbit AI team. The Rabbit AI team issued a response and said, today we were made aware of an alleged data breach, which, by the way, if you have access to API keys, it's pretty easy to access data. Our security team immediately began investigating. As of right now, we are not aware of any customer data being leaked or any compromise to our systems. If we learn any other relevant information, we will provide an update once we have more details. This is the statement right here, copy and pasted from Rabbitude's site, and this is directly off of the Rabbit A1 Discord server in which they used for their official response. I didn't think I'd ever read those words in the same sentence. According to their Discord server. So the article then goes on, despite claiming no compromise had occurred, Rabbit immediately revoked those 4 API keys. They were done improperly and at such haste that it led to a temporary outage of the text-to-speech services, which is kind of important for a device with no physical input. Text-to-speech is your only method of input in this device, so it bricked the device for a period of like 12 hours or something like that. But Rabbitude wasn't done. They omitted a key from their findings from the Rabbit AI team. They said there's one more API that we still have, and it exists for SendGrid, which explains the background color difference from yellow to red.
If you don't know that already, that's bad.
Yes. So SendGrid is the database that is collecting AI inquiry, AI response, and training data for anything that has been sent to Rabbit R1's AI processing.
That was also their email.
It also had access to their email.
Yeah.
It was one API key to their internal servers, and their internal servers could go like, yeah, I'll accept any requests that you send me.
Because I think it was for their like development side email.
Yeah.
If I wrote that, because I've actually done stuff with that too.
Yeah. So the SendGrid API had basically domain level access to rabbit.tech, which is their overseeing domain. And any service therein which used rabbit.tech for authentication was just inherently trusted at this point. You could see where this would be a problem.
Sorry, it's just so stupid.
I know.
So stupid.
Among the things that they host themselves are their own email. So what did Rabbitude do? They decided to send out emails to press who had registered with Rabbit AI to alert them that that the servers had been compromised.
Oh man.
They had also alerted Rabbit AI about the issues, and they didn't get a response from Rabbit AI. So here's the bottom of this article. Sorry, it's cut off the page because I can't arrange my windows the way I would like to. Rabbit's response. We have an internal confirmation that the Rabbit team is aware of this leaking of API keys and have chosen to ignore it. The API keys continue to be valid as of this writing, that is the SendGrid API. We believe it is important for consumers to be aware of Rabbit's poor security practices, as it can have devastating consequences for R1 users. And that is very true. Where was the rest of this? Hold on. Was it in this article? No. There was something else. Where did they say they had sent emails to press? Gosh.
Oh,
here we go. It's in the yellow article. As of the writing, a fifth hard-coded API key exists for SendGrid, which is still active. It provides access to the complete history of emails sent on rabbit.tech. So, by the way, not only could they send emails, they could read all emails.
Yeah, because it had a history of everything going through SendGrid.
Yep. This subdomain is primarily...
That's what I had.
This subdomain is primarily used for R1's spreadsheet editing functions, meaning that it also includes user information contained within those spreadsheets. It also allows us to send emails from rabbit.tech email addresses. A proof of concept was first sent a month ago, but went unnoticed by the Rabbit team. Between that point and today, we did not view or send any further emails. Today, we provided further proof of this retained access by sending sample emails from the Rabbit domain to journalists, including Jason Kobler of 404 Media, who published a great long-form piece on this topic, which I've also linked down in the video description. So researchers prove Rabbit AI breach by sending us an email from them, which is one of the best headlines I've read all year.
Okay. I mean, the API key stuff, again, that is so stupid. I get it as like testing, quick code. I'm using it for personal use. I'll never publish this. I understand that aspect. I've done that. I'm like, I want to test this code. I want to test the theory. But it's all in-house. It stays in-house. That's fine. If you're then going to publish this as a public product, what are you thinking? Why would you? What? Oh my gosh, it's so dumb. It's so many, because it's so easy to get that. I could get all of those.
Right.
I know how to get that stuff. That's fun. That's so easy. I kind of want to get, but it's the other guy in IT. He pre-ordered one of these rabbits. I've been mocking him for about a month now for buying one. I can't wait to send him this article.
I cannot say any names, but Ursi78 says, and now they are likely desperately looking for a security consultant. I know of at least 2 consultants they've reached out to.
Oh, that's even funnier. That's hilarious.
Not mentioning any names, but I know of at least 2.
Well, we the thing is though, wasn't it in a month ago we talked about the company, and they were, I forget what, they were headed into a different direction, and they were a different name, and they basically bankrupt themselves and then all of a sudden changed direction, wasn't it?
Fisker? Oh no, that's something different entirely.
But I forget the original name of, and then the guy who developed this.
Yeah.
But right then again, huge red flags all the way. And this was just a cash grab, fancy advertisement, special keywords to grab people that didn't know anything about AI, and a lot of promises too. I almost wonder if it was a big thing too, because I've seen a lot more about the flipper going around, and I wonder if this was to piggyback on the thing about flippers and hackers and stuff, and then be like, now it's here with AI because it integrates with anything, and then therefore you could just yes, yeah, exactly. So I almost wonder, because I've seen more and more things about buying a flipper or it being illegal and dangerous, but then when you see those articles, it also makes you kind of want to buy it more. So it makes me also think, yeah, those articles might have been paid for to be like, oh, it's this illegal thing you cannot buy. And then all of a sudden there's this magical AI handheld device that can interact with all of these AI devices and your phone, and just by talking to it, you just integrate it. It's like going to wish.com and getting an AI thing.
Kinda.
That's pretty much what this was.
Yeah.
And the people that didn't see that, I mean, they were fooled so hard.
Yeah.
But this is funny. I love this. I love the 11 Labs as your Yelp, Google Maps. What was it? The everything. It's the AI keys.
My favorite title that I've read all year is definitely "Researchers prove that Rabbit AI breach is real by sending us email from them."
You know how we used to do.
It's my favorite thing I've read all year.
We used to do, what was it? When was it? When did? Oh, it was April Fools, and then we did all of the tech best April Fools for tech stuff. We should do now once a year, like a wrap up episode or a segment of best article headlines from the year, like favorite article headlines of the year.
Yeah.
And then go back and be like, oh, remember this? Yeah, that was dumb. A year in review. Or like a faux award show for our own.
There you go.
We'll give them an award.
We give them a crafty. Yeah.
A crafty. There we go. A crafty.
Yeah.
We'll give them a crafty, a hopsy, a retsy, and a chicken.
And a chicken. Yeah.
And a chicken.
Then tonight's categories are that could be fun.
We can even do submissions into the Discord, and they have to vote on it.
Yeah.
So it's not us; it's the Discord that votes. Just the committee that gets to choose. All right, what else we got?
Well, how's your beer treating you?
I need a new one.
I am right there.
You know what? I can go get my new one, pour it, explain it, and there we go.
So this has been surprisingly good. I mean, it's a 10.5% hazy. It's probably going to be pretty decent, but when it was ice cold, I had some reservations about how good this was going to be. Mainly around, boy, this tastes like a 2014 hazy. I thought this was going to be the only thing I taste for the next 3 days. I thought it was going to burn my mouth from the inside out. As it warmed up, it kind of sweetened up a little bit.
Got a little bit more of that
rounded
malt.
itself out. Turned out very pleasant. Still, one of the most acidic, citrusy noses I have ever smelled on a beer. And, I mean, you know me, I'm an OG Heady Topper fan. So, like, I know a smell.
Oh, yeah. Especially, I wouldn't even say Heady Topper. It's like, we're OG Oregon beer festivals. We know what smells taste like.
Right, exactly.
Or smells like. Well, speaking of letting something warm up, I have something that's been aging for at least 6 months.
Ooh.
And it's a Christmas beer. So I got 2 of these, but this is El Segundo's. It's just their Christmas ale. So I wanted to have something a little bit sweeter, maltier.
I almost grabbed that out of my fridge.
Did you?
I almost did.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And unfortunately, I just cracked this one, so I can't go match you.
I just had that yesterday. I did have that. That's hilarious.
So how's Aaron doing?
How'd you know? That's what I got it from.
Yeah. No, Aaron gave me a little welcoming pack as well. So from El Segundo, I have the White Dog IPA, 6.7%. This is kind of one of their standards from down in Orange County.
Yeah.
And John has their Christmas Ale, which is a very limited release. And according to our friend Aaron, is like in his top 5 of beers all time.
Well, he hates IPAs.
Yes, yeah, no, he is a fan of
Malt.
of ambers and mailbox and reds and English malty ales. Like that's his bread and butter.
Oh yes.
Oh, what a good looking beer.
It is a very good looking beer. It looks really good in this glass because I can see the nucleation. And the funny thing is, it looks like it's going slow motion too. That's thing. It looks so good.
Let me see if I can get this one on. Nah, I can't quite. There's not quite enough light on your end, but hold on. There we go. I love the auto zoom on this lens for hit and focus. The nucleation in this one is going crazy.
Now the head's nice. Maltiness. I can smell malt just from over here.
Nice.
I like that.
Nice.
Yes,
so
if
yeah,
anyone doesn't know, they do the Steve Austin ones too.
So the Rabbit team is learning out how to sanitize not only your inputs, but your outputs and your database and your code base as well. Hide your API keys behind certificate access keys. Like that's the way you should do it because you have to have the certificate to access the API key. Don't just embed that crap in the app, you lazy sons of...
Like
I'm not a programmer and I know that crap.
Like I said, it's completely fine if it's like in-house testing, but you have to denote and make sure like, hey, after testing, we have to make sure that this has to be security certificate secured.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you do. I understand. Hey, I got to test this feature. Let's quickly debug this, blah, 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 blah. And it's in-house. You just sent it to 5 people and it's not leaving this building. I understand that mindset. But then you're like, now let's push this live to the public. That's where you're stupid. And whoever was in head of software development, idiot.
Yeah. Yep. And Opt Infinity is keeping track. That's 2 Bobby Tables this year. That's right. We brought out that comic twice this year. Good old Bobby Tables, we call him. This little project popped up on my radar, and yeah, this is fun because how many of these devices did you ever own, John?
2.
2? Yeah, I think I'm also at 2. But
I had one in high school. I used one in high school. It was great.
Yeah. I bought one shortly after high school, where I needed to just type in some, college papers and whatnot. I need something with a keyboard. I didn't want to add a keyboard just to my Palm Pilot, and so I'm like, we'll grab a little HP Jornada, and so that's what I typed a lot of my college essays on, was an HP Jornada 790 or 710X, something like that. So this project caught my eye. This is on hackaday.io. This is Project Z. Make PDAs and UMPCs great again, for lack of better words. Sorry, bring back PDAs and UMPCs. And what they've done is they've taken a classic clamshell, tiny form factor, 5.5 to 7-inch ultra wide LCD. You've got your Phison foldable. You've got the 5MX. You've got the Jornada. You've got the Jornada 720. You've got the Sharp Zaris. you know, I had one of these.
Oh
Loved that
yeah,
thing.
that thing's cool.
Um, One of the coolest things that I did was because I also had a DVD-ROM at the time, was I ripped the Matrix and encoded it down to a format that I could play back on this PC. So I could watch The Matrix, the full movie, off of a compact flash card on my HP Jornada.
That's pretty
It,
cool.
it played back at like 12 frames per second. Like,
But it doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. I'm watching The Matrix on my tiny little Matrix style laptop. Like, what are you doing with your
time,
life?
his arm's here, and then it comes back to here.
Right.
It's like gunk. The bullet jumps 12 feet.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a prototype of the Z of Project Z. This is the 7th iteration that they've done. It's got a full custom PCB with a resistive keyboard setup and a 7-inch 1024 by 600 widescreen LCD, 16:9 aspect ratio. Kind of, neat little integration that they've got going on here, and powered by a Raspberry Pi 2.0.
Yeah.
So you've got Wi-Fi, you've got 4 cores of ARM Cortex A78. You've got a micro SD card for storage. You still have access to your full GPIO, so if you wanted to break that out. You've got USB-C for power input. You've got all this space down here for a battery. They have not designed the case or a final design for the keyboard yet. But I saw this project and I'm like, this is really freaking cool. And they're targeting a delivery price of $99.
I was gonna say it's gotta be like 150.
99 bucks. I would totally buy this thing for $100.
That's a fun toy. It's a fun toy that you could use. That's what it is.
They nailed the form factor. I loved this form factor.
My only
HP Jornada.
My only thing is I'd have to see the case. I gotta see the case.
Mm-hmm.
That can ruin it if they go too chunky or something like that.
Yeah.
That's my only concern is like, I really don't want big and bulky. I want thin. I don't mind a chintzier keyboard. I don't want a rubber keyboard. I'd like a hard button keyboard. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want one of. I don't want the Sharp Zaris. I want the Jornada. The rubber domes is what this is called. So this is still rubber dome resistive, but this is a rubber.
Yes, yeah. I want that. I want that.
I want this one.
I don't want. Yeah, I don't want the silicone cheap. You remember those remote keyboards or the remote control?
Oh, the foldable.
Yeah,
or the rollable. The Justin Long in
yep.
Yeah. In Die Hard.
Those. No, horrible. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. No, this would be fun because again, if you're taking notes or you need internet access to something really quick, or you need to run a remote design, this would just be great because you could have a lot of access. Again, though, back to Linux, but still, you could do a whole lot with this, and it's just fun.
It's fun. It's a cute little form factor, and I think this could genuinely be useful to a good number of people, and I'm kind of here for it. Like this is cool. I miss this form factor. I miss this kind of innovation from a lot of things, especially at this price point. Like there are 7-inch laptops that you can buy today with like N95s and N100 Intel CPUs, which are, quad core and decent enough, basically Atom processors on them. But they're like $330 on AliExpress. And it's like, that's too much to pay for, a terminal access machine. But $99 runs on a Pi Zero?
You know what I would love too is if the case can go vertical, and then right then and there, that means I can wall mount this to a case of some kind, put a power adapter on my wall, and then now I can do a lot of craft stuff with it. I can make this cool interface. Essentially, that's like wall mounted if I wanted to. That type of stuff was just like, oh, geek me out.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
Yep.
And especially for
Veronica's in
$100
chat. She goes, ooh, yeah. No, I had the same reaction when this project came on my feed today. It's like I normally don't cover like little like mid stories like this. Like I want to hear of a retail release, but this one got me excited, and I think this one definitely has a place. And I want to see this thing succeed. I would totally pay $100 for a kit to make one of these. It's a cool form factor. I think it's definitely useful to the right person. And God, could you imagine like, you know, a 22-hour battery or some crap like that?
Exactly.
Of a Pi Zero? Like, this thing is going to last forever on a simple 3-cell battery.
Yeah. No, I think it's super fun. There's so much fun things you can do with this. This comes back to the idea of the Raspberry Pi and everything, but again, the Raspberry Pi Zero, and that's what this type of stuff was meant for, is cool innovation. The innovations that you and I grew up with, and a lot of people on this channel grew up with as junior hires, high schoolers, early college kids, of, man, if only this was a little bit thinner, a little bit more powerful, a little bit cooler. Or, you know, we brute force all of these devices to their max to get 10% of enjoyment of watching The Matrix at 12 FPS. Now we can have something like this where it's like, oh, we're living the dream again. And
this would play Matrix in 4K.
Exactly. You know, it's as powerful as we knew what we saw 20 years ago, what we envisioned, and where we saw the future. And the good part is that dream hasn't died in a lot of innovators, and they're pushing the envelope right now, and we are the beneficiary of those. And there's enough of a market, hopefully, that would continue this type of a development.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. Super cool to see. I'm going to be following this project very closely because I want one. I've been thinking about building myself a cyber deck for a number of years just because I think it'd be a fun little project to get into, but I also don't want to spend like $500 or $600 on a cyber deck project. It's like, I don't know that building a cyber deck would do all that well on my channel. You know, if I'm 3D printing half the stuff or designing my own parts, like, it'd probably have to go up on my second channel, and at that point it's like, well, my viewership's not there, so am I going to get a return? Can I find a sponsor? Like, there's a whole bunch of economic factors that go into why that wouldn't work on my channel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and also when you start 3D printing parts or custom making things, it's like, okay, but that's not easy for the consumer to just go out and do. They want to see the stuff like when your videos are like, hey, consumer, if you go by here, here, and here, and here's the thing to how to tweak it, and I'll show you how to do it. Links are in the description. Here's the results you can get. Yeah. And, you know, views like that, then it's skyrocket. But when you're like, yeah, you have to have a 3D printer or a custom made thing to do that, it's kind of hard.
So I do things that are just for me sometimes, just for my own benefit. I am a maker at heart. I have a problem out in my garage. It has to do with my merch store, craftcomputing.store. I have a couple different laser cutters out in my garage, and I have an exhaust system out in my garage for getting rid of the smoke. Unfortunately, it's the same exhaust system that I use for the air conditioning unit that's inside of my server rack. So during the winter, I can just plug the AC side of that and then suck the smoke right out of my laser cutters, and it sucks right out. And I've got plenty of pressure, plenty of flow for it, and it just works. Unfortunately, when I'm also running my air conditioner, I don't have enough pull from the secondary vent that I ran down to my laser cutters, and so it doesn't pull the smoke out of the air. And so I end up like having to wear a respirator or whatever else when I'm doing it because I don't have any other exhaust that I can run at that side of my garage. So it got me thinking the other day, what can I do about that? So I got on Amazon and I just bought an air filter. I just bought a HEPA certified, this is an H13 sized air filter.
Okay.
And I bought a 120 millimeter 5,600 RPM 25 watt fan.
You had to buy that? You didn't have that on hand?
I didn't have this one on hand. I needed,
my God.
I had a 3,000 RPM Noctua Industrial, but I'm like, no. If I'm gonna spend any money at all, it's gonna be in the fan. So I spent like $14 for a pair of HEPA filters, and then I spent $50. I spent $25 each on two fans.
Okay.
But these are 25 watt, 120 millimeter fans. These will move like 270 cubic feet per minute of air. Which is like 6 times what a computer case fan would do, but it's still a it's still a PWM plug. It's using like double gauge wiring of what you'd normally expect on a PWM. Like, this is heavy duty crap. 5,600 RPM on this fan.
You wish your bedroom fan had that much power.
I kind of do. This part didn't exist yesterday in any form. I designed this, I printed it, I test fitted it. First I test printed a couple rings to make sure I could fit into the bottom of my air filter. And once I had the right diameter for the printer that I was using, I went ahead and printed up this test piece. I ended up wrapping a piece of electrical tape around it just to give it a little bit more positive fit to it.
Seal, yeah.
But now I've got essentially a gasket.
Nice seal, yeah.
That fits right into. So I suck air in and it goes into the HEPA filter. But wait, the top is still empty. So I printed out an end cap for it, which also has a cone on the end. So that drops right in there, seals on the top. So now the air pressure comes in and blows out the side. It's automatically directed by the baffle that I printed in here. This didn't exist yesterday.
Yep.
And I designed this and printed this. And this is the kind of stuff that I just do on the side because it's not the kind of stuff that would do well on the channel. Like, I'm building an air filter for my laser cutter. That has no place on a home lab enthusiast computer channel outside of people who also own laser cutters, which I think is
I guess it could build up the second channel if, again, this comes back to the conversation of effort, time, and cost,
exactly.
Type of a thing, and that I totally get.
Yeah.
And trying to grow that, but yeah, totally understand. Like, that does not match the first channel that makes 90% of your income relevant, and it's a waste of your time. Actually, it's a waste.
Mm-hmm.
So
if I'm spending time on video for anything else, I am taking video time away from the primary income source. Yeah, and it makes it difficult.
You'd just be and you'd be more frustrated with Linux. So right.
Right. So yeah, now I've got this. I've tested it out. I get a decent amount of airflow through this filter because this fan is optimized for pressure as well. It puts a lot of pressure into the system, and actually you can feel the air coming out of the filter as it's going through, which is why I want
a lamp now.
Yeah, as Veronica says, also it just looks like a lamp.
It just looks like a lamp.
It's a major award.
That's what I was gonna go with.
How dare you? But I also bought
Fragile.
Yeah, it's Fragile. It must be Italian.
Yeah, it's French.
So I also bought a 12-volt, 2-amp speed controller. Not a fan controller, a speed controller for a DC motor to be able to control this fan. And so I can set a speed, and then the only thing that I have to design still is I'm going to design an intermediary bracket that goes between the baffle and the fan that will also attach to my laser cutter, so this can sit right on the adjustable head and move up and down with the cutting head. And that'll give me all the smoke remediation that I need when running my laser cutters. And this didn't exist yesterday. Put a leg under it. Now you need to 3D print a life-size R2-D2.
If you could do like a fishnet stocking cover, that would be great.
Hold on. So I've been breaking in my new 3D printer. I got a Bamboo Labs P1S to do a lot of my rapid prototyping that I like to do. To test them out, one of the things that I wanted to do, and that I wanted to do for a long time, is print reliably with hips. Look, PLA is great, but it is not the best filament. PLA can only survive up to about 55 degrees Celsius, after which it hits a glass transition temperature and starts to deform, just from ambient heat. It is very, very strong, but it's also very brittle. And so for certain projects, it's fantastic. You can print fantastic overhangs. It makes really good wall hangers and all kinds of stuff. But any kind of impact, any kind of usable part, I've had so many PLA prints just break on me. And look, it's a great material, but it's not a super material. Like, let's not get carried away here. PETG is closer to a super material, but it also has some drawbacks in which any overhangs that you print, PETG sags a lot. It is more difficult to adhere to your bed, even with a PEI plate. It has a much higher glass transition temperature. It's a little bit more flexible, mainly because of the glycol additive. But it's still not perfect. You can get carbon fiber reinforced PETG for like $30, although if you really want like chopped carbon fiber, you need to spend like $60 a kilogram, which makes it fairly expensive for a hobbyist material. The $30 carbon fiber is usually carbon fiber powder, which gives it the matte finish, but also makes it lower layer adhesion and less ductility and more fragile because it's not actually bridging connections with it. The material that I like is HIPS, high impact polystyrene. It's what they make milk jugs out of.
Okay.
It is flexible and incredibly resilient. I mean, if you print it thick enough, my little robot friend that I have here, it is incredibly strong. But HIPS is the material of choice when it comes to the things that I want to do, like printing cases to mount into server racks, or printing fan shrouds, or things like that, where heat is going to be an issue. Oh, and also PETG and PLA are not UV stable. If you put them out in the sun for 3 months, they will just dissolve. The UV just breaks them down. HIPS is UV stable. You can put HIPS out in UV. It has the bridging capabilities of PLA while having all of the strength and layer adhesion capabilities of PETG. Plus, it's only 65% as dense as either of those filaments, so you get 35% more filament per roll. It's a less expensive filament to run, and it's better. It's a pain in the ass to print, though, because you need a 90 degree Celsius bed. You need a 260 degree Celsius nozzle. It's not that friendly. And if you don't have a heated chamber, it tends to warp on you. Even with my Prussian Mark III, if I didn't preheat my chamber for like an hour by heating my bed to 100 degrees Celsius and then just letting it cook there for a while, I could not reliably get HIPS prints off of that chamber.
Was that an ATST? What is that?
This is BD1. He is the helper droid from the Star Wars Jedi game from EA.
Okay.
And so,
like
yeah, it's a bipedal little robot.
Yeah, okay.
But I want to print with HIPS. That has been like a major goal of mine for a very long time. And unless I spent like an extra hour each print going through my Prussian Mark III, I could not reliably print HIPS. My Bamboo Labs has been printing HIPS wonderfully. This is out of HIPS. This is the largest print I've ever gotten out of HIPS. Now, it's a multi-sectional part. They're all assembled. The legs all come apart and things like that. But they're all completely flat. There's no warping to be seen. And so I printed this with PLA. I'm going to reprint this with HIPS. I finally got 3 new rolls of HIPS in today. And I'm going to give that a shot.
Again, I mean, I don't know how big. I haven't checked on it in actually quite some time, but the quality of the second channel, can't always take a hit. And if you just want to do like, hey, here's a steady cam and just boom,
yeah,
stuff like that might hit a little bit,
Right, and it might eventually. My issue right now is I have so little time.
That I 100%.
I just have other things going on in my life right now that are taking any extra time that I have. And
I know. I am at the point, and maybe if that editing rig will help me. I was like, man, editing my videos is taking so much time because that the rig just can't handle it. But I'm at the point I might even for content start doing lives of opening sellers because I'm like, I need content, but I'm like, Man, because I did a live about a couple weeks ago, and it did okay. But just to constantly release content is like something, I'm dead now in the algorithm because I haven't released anything in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a struggle to get back to when you're on a strive from even a small channel to a large channel. I'm assuming the ideals that you still have to follow are probably very similar.
You see the dynamics within the videos
Yeah.
that you produce, within like,
Yeah.
I know this one's going to hit, I know this one's not, I know.
But I need the algorithm to understand I just push something and
Right.
yeah.
It's the same dynamics, just exponential. And yeah.
Yeah.
Where your videos might fluctuate, between like, you look at your first hour, and if you go, I got 1,000 views in my first hour, you're like, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
like, and then you have another video that you post and you're like, I got 400 views in my first hour. Okay, it's not great, but acceptable, kind of thing. Well, with larger channels, it's like, I got 8,000 views in my first hour. Yeah, I only got 2,000 views in my first hour. It's the same ratio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's infinitely more impactful.
Yeah.
Just income-wise, revenue-wise, time sunk-wise.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have income revenue-wise, but you already have the growth. And I'm like, oh, I don't have income, but now it hit my growth to possibly make that income.
Yeah.
Or trying to make that type of a thing, yeah, but it hits different ways. But yeah, it's the same idea. And it's almost like I've been watching a little bit of soccer recently, or football, as some people might say, but the different leagues, and yeah, it's still the same rules, and I'm trying to hit there, but I'm trying to upgrade to the next league, essentially. Yeah. But yeah, you're still hitting all the things, and it's harder and harder. So yeah. Anyways, there was something about AI.
Yeah. Speaking of hitting harder and harder.
Yeah. Right. Actually, this one hits a little less. Well, yes,
at least in the pocketbook.
Yeah.
So Sohu is an AI chip manufacturer. And there's a lot of startup AI chip manufacturers that have been coming out lately. And they have an interesting little product that might actually be beneficial for gamers, not in the way you might think, though. They may free up stock for NVIDIA to start selling gaming cards again.
That's an interesting take. I did not go that route, but that's an interesting take.
Hear me out.
All right. Yeah.
Sohu has developed an ASIC AI accelerator that is purpose designed for LLMs. And they say, with current LLM models, it is upwards of 20 times faster than an H100.
That's a lot. Look at that scale right there.
Llama 70 billion throughput. Llama's a pretty standard test. 70 billion data points. Maybe not the most data. Like I'd prefer to see a 144, 184, something like that. But 70 billion, and 500,000 tokens per second. Versus it looks like 30,000 tokens per second on a B200, 10,000 tokens per second on an H100. With the same size layout. I mean, these are very similar size to an H100. You could probably maximize your density about the same way. Again, kind of like AMD, and this might get a little bit more into the, well, of course this is that much faster at this one particular task. It's purpose designed for that. It's ASIC mining versus, generic parallelized compute GPU mining. Of course the ASIC miners are better at Bitcoin than your 1080 Ti's. Yes. But here's the deal. Here's the deal with NVIDIA. And as big as NVIDIA has been in the AI space, the thing that has kept NVIDIA big in the AI space may end up being their Achilles heel. and that is that if you want to run NVIDIA, you are dependent on CUDA, which means NVIDIA is dependent on making sure that CUDA still runs on all future GPUs. It has been the same API present in NVIDIA cards since 2008, since CUDA first launched. GPUs are made up of literally CUDA cores. They perform CUDA instructions, executions, calculations, and give you an output. GPUs might be running into the same issue that CPUs run into, in that CPUs are generalized compute. You can run anything you want on a CPU and it will literally just brute force its way through. That's how CPUs operate. The advantage of GPUs has always been we're a little bit more purpose-built and we can run parallelized, so you can give us a set of instructions and we can send it to every single core simultaneously and then calculate the result at the end. And so it's working with one script writer versus 10,000 monkeys in a room, but 10,000 highly trained monkeys. And you're probably going to end up with better results from 10,000 highly trained monkeys or highly trained interns. Let's call it highly trained interns. I think that's a better analogy. Do you want one professional scriptwriter who, I can do this thing for you, but it's going to take me 3 years. Like, this is not an easy, like, there's a lot of twists and turns. I got to develop this character first to make their arc make sense. Like, or do you give 10,000 interns, highly trained interns, an instruction and let them figure it all out? You're going to get results a lot faster. Parallelized. Well, those interns still need to be paid. They still need to be able to perform other tasks. They still need to be able to go home at night, take vacations, all the things that we don't like to do as employers. ASICs are purpose-built to just put pen to paper. How's that for an analogy? So when Llama is being used on an NVIDIA H100, only 3.3% of the silicon transistors are being used for that particular task. Now, the memory is obviously a huge aspect of all this. CUDA is also a partial aspect of this because you still have, AI tasks that can run solely in CUDA. But they're saying that 96.7% of silicon is still used for other tasks in general purpose. It's still general purpose compute. What if you had a single purpose compute? That's what ASIC is.
Yeah.
Well, if we're working on AI transformers, which is what we're talking about in most common models today, your LLMs, your Dollies, your Soras, your Geminis, your Stable Diffusions, your Chat GPTs, those are all pre-trained models that transform data from a trained model set into an expected output. Well, Sohu has built an ASIC that does only that task. If you want to run an LLM, we will run it 20 times faster.
Yeah. Oh, and the best part is too, like when someone thinks about that, you have to sit there and think when someone buys an NVIDIA card and they're wanting it for that one aspect, you have to understand that one card is 10% designed probably to do that aspect.
Yeah.
And so even though it might have these really great specs and everything, and currently the market hits there for that, what is the price that it costs you to buy that card to run that one aspect? Where this card, they didn't tell the price, they didn't say anything like that, but I'm betting is going to be significantly cheaper, a lot less power consumption. So there's a lot of things that we can think about, and that then, which I did, like I said, when you were going off, I didn't think about NVIDIA's side of they can then focus on something. So if you did need graphics, this would free up their side to give you that extra either 10% boost, or they don't even have to worry about that, and they don't never have to focus on this again. For all we know, they could buy Sohu out or license them out or whatever.
Very well could.
For the price and be like, hey, we love what you're doing. we're going to take that and integrate our own variants of cards. But that's going to help NVIDIA, is what it's going to do. So they can integrate that to improve the performance. This is going to help data centers that are all AI based to less consume power and take as much. So there's a lot of benefits to this single aspect, transaction for this type of a card. It's actually a really cool thing if you think about what it's going to do. And in all honesty, AI standard computing is probably going to be the new Google search. People sit there and think of, like, they used to be like Google it as the acronym for just searching for it. And instead of looking through the first 20 articles, people are going to be like, hey, AI of whatever your choice is, what was the history of this? What is the mathematical equation of this? How do I improve my code of this? And it's going to spit it out. That's going to be the new Google search, essentially.
Yeah, contextually aware Google searches is kind of what we're aiming for.
And Google's already doing that too, with their bars up at top saying it's already that way.
Yeah.
So
we've talked before about how NVIDIA being the go-to solution is kind of a happy little accident right now, because AI compute, as it's been developed to this point, is reliant on highly parallel generalized compute, which is what CUDA and graphics based processors thrive at. They are not, they only work with specific instruction sets, but they run those instruction sets very quickly, and the scale is basically infinite as long as you have enough bandwidth to support the inference. And so NVIDIA is the best in the game at it right now, and that's the current technology that's in demand. What happens when people build purpose-built hardware to answer that niche need? Does the need for the general compute from graphics cards go away? It's weird to call graphics cards general compute, but does the need for general compute from graphics cards go away in favor of ASICs? We've seen this in a number of circumstances over the years. Now, again, we're talking about crypto mining, where it gets to a point where the time sink, the cost sink into hashing your next coin is insurmountable to the cost of running the card, because you're still running on general compute. But what happens when an ASIC miner comes out and is able to mine 15 times faster? And by the way, most ASIC miners that have come out for, Bitcoin and such have been ASIC based. They have been single instruction, give me all of them at the same time, and I will crank out this one thing forever. What happens when NVIDIA is no longer the go-to solution for AI accelerated workloads?
Well, yeah. Again, I don't know how AI. If you're going very niche on one thing, I don't know it, because AI is still. I don't think it's going anywhere. I honestly do not think it's going anywhere. I don't think it's a niche thing at all. I think NVIDIA is trying to I wouldn't say dip their toe. They're not dipping their toe. They're heavily invested in this, but I don't know how much versus of capital they're putting into an investment, being like, yeah, we're going to go full AI cards, because 99% of their bread and butter is graphics based and server based. But then when you have a small company that does something like this, and
GeForce is almost a rounding error at this point.
Yeah. So I think when a small company like this is very focus oriented, one, it proves a point that you can get performance like this for this one specific thing.
Yeah.
And with the hardware out there that we currently have, the capability we have that's currently out there, which proves, I believe, a small company like this, if they can do this, means NVIDIA probably already was capable of this, but didn't do it because of other red tape within the company. That's my personal thing.
I don't necessarily capable of, yes, has been focusing on and developing. No.
Yeah. Well, I think,
And again, and Nvidia, the reason that they've been successful is right now they are the best tool for the job. They are a highly parallelized, generalized compute that can happen to run these models and has enough memory and bandwidth to run these models.
yeah.
It's the same kind of thing when we started needing 3D accelerators in PCs in the first place. Is before we had software acceleration for everything, and if you wanted 3D, we'll just brute force the crap out of Quake.
Do you remember though, back in the early mid to late 90s, you needed a sound card and a good sound driver, and it was a separate piece of hardware.
Yep.
And then you needed a graphics card, which is a separate piece of hardware.
Yeah.
This might be that point now, right? Where like they're saying, hey, here's a graphics card, but if you want better AI capabilities you're going to need a separate piece of hardware.
And we're already seeing this in some aspects in modern CPUs. So you have Lunar Lake and you have Strix Point and some of the newer APUs that are coming out from both Intel and AMD with dedicated NPUs, that is neural processing units. Those are essentially ASICs that are designed to run language models locally on a PC more efficiently than you could run them in CPU or GPU even. They are designed for a specific instruction set to run that specific instruction set as fast as possible. If you can take advantage of them, they are more efficient than running graphics. Now, most models are still designed for graphics, and so it's, up in the air what the benefit actually is to the consumer, and are we actually running tasks on our local PCs that need language models in the background, or can we just offload all that to the cloud? Like, there's a whole bunch of unknowns there. But that's basically what the NPUs are, is this in a very macrocosm of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Well, yeah. I just like the idea that someone can theoretically take this, and if they have their open language model or whatever, and they with that theoretically, I guess, could start doing something locally and host it locally or do it faster. And I don't like the idea that everything's cloud-based. I like the idea that you could always do something locally and buy the hardware to build it, develop it locally, and you don't have to be essentially $1 billion company to eventually develop it yourself. And this goes back to the whole Linux community of, yes, but you need the hardware. And that's what this is here's the hardware to start something that you could build from the ground up, and a small product that you might be able to develop into a larger product. And this product is efficient and cheap and does the one thing that you needed it to do, instead of this broad aspect thing of, say, an NVIDIA card. And that's what I really like about what Sohu, what they claim. Again, this is a claim. This is not a fully released product. Again, so that's what I like. It. I like the idea. I like the direction.
Yeah, and as we always say, competition breeds innovation. And when there's competition in the enterprise, industrial, retail space, the consumers win. The consumers win every single time. And
Yep.
If there is competition for the top end of AI, and the top end of AI for NVIDIA right now is taking silicon out of the hands of gamers in favor of running generalized compute AI workloads, and NVIDIA's bottom dollar turns upside down because a couple of ASIC compute modules come out that can run their models 20 times faster, that silicon's got to go somewhere, and it's going to go back into the hands of gamers. And so... Or NVIDIA is going to get way better at it, and they're going to come out with a chip that's even more efficient, in which the consumer still wins. Like, it's always a win-win scenario when there's competition involved.
So we did have a few beer news.
Yes.
I didn't think we wanted to get too much into this AI, but I felt it was a time to close. But, there has been a local, when I say local, I mean local to the US, it's Michigan based, but we were talking about how Aaron loves malty beers over hoppy beers. You and I do have a passion for malt forward beers. We really appreciate a good malt forward, warm beer. The texture
You and
is
I
great.
love an ESB like no one else
Yep.
that I know.
Oh yeah, English UK style beers. Yeah. Well, there is a brewery in where was it? Michigan, I thought, Grand Rapids, Michigan, that feels that they have come up with the recipe from a 1700-year-old beer that the last person to drink it was a Scots tribesman. And they feel that they threw out clay jars, and the text that they were able to get the recipe from feel that they were able to get the exact correct recipe, and they brewed it for a small batch recipe to be released soon. Everyone said that it tastes interesting. I don't know if this was a typo or not, but it said something of heather and caramel.
The heather beer is what it's being called.
A heather. I never heard heather as a description of a beer. I thought that was a typo of leather.
No. No.
So heather and caramel.
Yeah.
Would be an interesting flavor, and apparently this was supposed to be something reserved for the elite of the elite. It was a beer that was heavier than the local wine. So, yeah, it sounds
heather,
very interesting.
If you're going by Scotch definitions, is honey.
Okay. Honey. Okay, so sweet and malty.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so heather, so honey and caramel, obviously very sweet, malty forward. And a lot of the latest description of this beer was a poem from The Secret of Heather Ale, alive in the 1890s poem. So that it's an interesting thing. So the brewery is, where was it? Oh my gosh, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Our archival brewery in Grand Rapids, Michigan is going to be releasing this beer very soon in a small batch. If it is a success, they will large batch this beer. So if anyone here is in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area, please, I am super interested in just hearing what this beer tastes like, seeing like, please go check this out. This article came out 3 days ago. So this is going to be a very new beer. Let me know if you've heard of this brewery before or anything. I would love to hear what this 1700-year-old beer tastes like or anything like that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm going. Go ahead.
Link in the description to my address. Like if you happen to find this beer.
Wink, wink, wink. I'm going through these quite fast because it's already past 8, but
yes.
We haven't done beer news in a while. But so I thought, again, like I said, I've actually had time to feel like I can go do things. And one of those is beer research for the channel. Yeah. So usually it's like 5:08 and I'm already left my work. And Jeff was like, hey, you're on the show. I'm like, oh, crud.
Oh, God, right.
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
Well, I mean, I can drink for you. I'll sing for you. I'll dance for you.
Whatever you want. If that's news, that's good. WeldWorks Brewing. If you're part of the Discord, you will know in 10 forward, we love WeldWorks. It's a very popular upcoming, it is a upcoming craft beer renowned for doing some very popular beers. However, the one thing that Jeff and I both love is, we're interested in, is these pre-made canned cocktails.
Yes.
And we are very intrigued by how they are made and how they're tasting, because a lot of the times the big box brands use just malt liquor and adjectives to make it taste like whiskey, taste like a Moscow Mule, but they never actually add the actual liquor to the drink. And so, but WeldWorks, from my research today, is stating they are using an actual vodka and an actual bourbon in their two 12 to 10% pre-made cocktail mixes. That is, one is a PB&J peanut butter and jelly bourbon smash and an orange creamsicle vodka crush.
Ooh.
So the bourbon barrel, PB&J is coming in at 12.2%, and the orange creamsicle crush is coming in at 1%. These will be available all throughout their whole distributors. So if you are able to get Welder Works beers, you should be able to get this pre-made cocktail. Again, coming back to what Jeff said, address in the link and description below. This is something we are wonderfully, praisably interested in. Would love to try. But a peanut butter and jelly bourbon pre-made cocktail, 12%, that's nothing to scoff at. A lot of times these pre-made stuff are like 8%, whatnot. These are double-digit beers.
Yeah.
These are higher than the Imperial 9.5% craft beers that we get. So these are 10% and above. Yep. I would love to say Welder Works is very much into the sour, jammy stuff. I would bet this is probably a pretty fruity, boozy, straightforward beverage. I would love to try it. I think it's pretty interesting. However, I think the reason they're probably doing this, there has been a big hit for the past couple of years on craft beers, and they're just trying to expand. Again, this is a very dense, fast thing about the beer news. Last one, there was a comment, I think it was Novella Hub, or someone said, talking about, because we said we both had El Segundos, which is the Stone Cold Steve Austin brewery.
That's right. That's where his IPA is at. Yep.
He got his IPA, his lager, and they just released a double IPA. I'd love to try that one because it's a double citrus IPA. So it's like,
do you think you can get him to retweet you again?
I am hoping so. I'm hoping I can get him to retweet my exact. I'll do it. No problem. Shirtless this time.
Heck yes.
I might have to do a couple push-ups though. Shirtless and in black underwear, but just like that's supposed to be done. But the man, the legend himself, the Hulkamaniacs, coming down to you, brother, are gonna be excited. You got to be 21 and over, brother, to do this. But the Hulkamania is coming out with an American lager at 4.2%. But Hulkamania himself is coming out with a real American lager beer. I saw a couple of videos of him going around, but you can get it now. It's available now where it's found. They're trying to be nationwide, but right now it's still kind of hard to get. But I love the cover. I love that 80s Hulk American flag bandana.
I do love that. They're like, we're making a real American beer, brother. It's going to be coming to ABC Fine Wine, Albertsons, Safeway, Sam Club, and Total Wine.
Walmart, yeah.
Walmart.
I love it. It's so just...
Wherever your generic sold-out piss beer is sold.
Yep, I know. Drink this piss beer, is better. It's just because I'm a Hulk Hogan. And that's 42 inch. What they need to do is they need to come out with a box.
What America needed was another 4.2% lager, brother.
Oh, was his biceps 42 inches or 46 inches?
I don't remember.
I wonder if that's why they made it 4.2. Because he used to like these 40-something inch pythons.
Yeah, that's right.
And I wonder if that's... I didn't think about that till now. Anyone in the chat knows old 80s wrestling, let me know. But yeah, if you are a old school WWE, WWF fan, actually.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Call it by its real name.
Yeah, right. Know what I'm talking about. Go pick one of these up. Let me know how horrible it is. Put it in the Discord chat. I'd love to see that. I probably will not do a review on this unless someone sends this to me because I'm not going to actively seek it out. I'm pretty sure it's horrible.
Nope.
But he says that's 24. So yeah. 24. So 4.2. Maybe that's why it's reversed.
Yeah.
24-inch pythons. So yeah, so 2442, so 4.2% lager. There you go. So the beer is actually inverse of his arm, but I don't
Yeah.
I don't believe it in general.
Inverse square rule is in effect.
Yeah.
The infield fly rule also applies here, I believe.
Yep. That's the beer news. If you guys, we got like a couple minutes. If you guys got chats, questions, let us know. Remember to hit that like on this video. Obviously, we love it. Comment, share it. You got to give us the love. You'll be like, hey, all your tech friends, like, you guys got to watch this show. It's fantastic. Share it to them. Be like, they talk the stupidest stuff, but it's informational. We directly talk to all of
Where
your
else are you
chats.
going to get the Hulkamania beer news that
Exactly.
you need on your daily basis?
We all know you're drinking during the job. Come on.
Who isn't these days?
Who isn't? Yeah, exactly. And then
when you work from home, a nice barrel-aged stout looks just like coffee in your mug, doesn't it?
What are you talking about? Jeff, I don't know what you're talking about working from home.
Right.
I work from the office and it still looks the same.
Yeah. Add that to the list of reasons I didn't apply at John's company.
That's a number. I mean, it's fine. I get away with it. You could get away with it.
I don't want to drive an hour just to drink. I can drink here.
But we pay you. We'll pay you to do it.
Right.
We pay for the liquor.
Right. I get paid to drink here.
Yeah, good point. I don't know why I do it too. I guess. Well, everyone subscribe to Hops and Brews so I don't have to do this anymore or drive.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So. Oh, hang on. I'll show you a sneak peek of a video coming out in the next couple of days because my editing rig was supposed to be out yesterday, but my editing rig crashed.
If only someone had a brand new motherboard and CPU and possibly a graphics card to throw at you. Because for those who don't know, we actually did build John an editing rig all the way back in 2019. I grabbed him a Chinese motherboard. I gave him at the time, I think you have a 12-core processor,
Yes.
which was not cheap at the time in 2019 when I put that rig together for you. And I donated all those parts. We got the case and the fans sponsored by someone. And I also gave him an M5000 graphics card with 8 gigs. So he's basically on a glorified 980 Ti, but an 8 gigabyte model. Just so he has enough video memory to do what he wants to do. But we tried filming the build after we did an episode of Talking Heads, and then we filmed a beer review for your channel in my studio. And then we're like, you know what? It's only like 11:30. We might as well try to knock this one out.
Try.
We were both so
we slurred
hammered.
every word. It was so.
Who knew that 4 beers and a beer review going through you in 3 hours could make you ill-prepared to build a PC?
It was also the Firestone Walker cocktail one, so it was an imperial, so it was
that's right
too. So Jeff, when you're obviously drinking your beer or whatever cocktail or thing you need, you're like, and sitting at your desk, you're like, I need to get a workout in.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way to do it? Well, obviously, it's this.
Oh, yeah.
18.5-pound beer drinking mug that you want to have.
Lead is not good for you, John.
So yeah, who wouldn't want an 18.5-pound beer drinking mug? I'm having to hold this out.
For those that don't believe John, that is 604 billet. That is a stainless steel hunk of. Oh
yeah, I had. So for the bachelor party, because
the machinist in me is crying that billet went into a mug.
I had Steve hold this thing. I had Aaron hold this thing. The idea I had, and you'll hear this in the video, is that if you can't lift that, you're too drunk. So it's a safety feature.
Ooh, I like that.
So, but I was going to have, I forgot to bring it to the bachelor party, but it was essentially everyone had to like take all hard liquor had to be drank out of that mug. If you couldn't lift it up, you're too drunk, and you have to stay, and then you're cut off.
That could make a good video.
Now, however, that's the light mug. They have a 22-pound version.
Oh.
So, but they did send that to me for free. And they're expecting a couple things from it, a couple of videos. So that's why I was like, oh, I got to get my editing rig back up. So that'll probably be out either a Friday or Monday, that video, and then
Sweet.
you'll see a couple shorts, possibly another video where I have a challenge. I put it in the comments. Maybe if enough people comment and watch this on the show, I was putting a challenge to drink out of that mug for 1 month and only that mug.
Ooh.
I can't have anything.
You're going to end up with Morty arm is what's going to happen.
That's what Steve was saying. And he was like, everyone's going to have this implication of me.
Right. Well, your right arm's looking really good there, John.
I must be in the doghouse for the longest month of my life. So, yeah.
You are ripped on one side.
Just that right bicep, baby. Yeah. Yeah, that'll hopefully be coming out soon. I found another one, a beer mug that won't spill. They claim it won't spill, so I'm going to, and they are in their demo video, you get to punch the beer mug.
Oh.
I'm going to put that to the test. So that video is coming up after that one.
Okay.
I might do a live in between. And then I have a really cool Belgian pack coming in. It's probably the most interesting 12-pack I've ever seen. All beers are 9.5%. None of them are IPAs. They're Belgians and sours. All 9.5%. 2 sours, a Belgian, and a wit.
Right.
All 9.5. And it's going to be globally
distributed.
Available. Distributed. Yeah. Thank you. Or not globally, United States wise, anyways.
Yeah.
Distributed. So that will be an interesting, and all of those were sponsored, essentially.
Nice.
So that'll be fun.
Look at you.
I know, right? It's fun. But then I feel bad because I'm like, I can't push this out because I've been so busy and I can't edit things on the weekends or anything.
Yeah. You know, John, if you ever wanted to leave your main job, like we've talked about opening the tap house back up and like integrating hops and brews into craft computing and doing some other thing there. So
I would just build a brewery at my farm. I would rather do that.
I know.
I'd rather do that.
John, sell me 2 acres and we'll do it all together. Because we talked about that too.
We did talk about that.
Has it been 5 years yet? It's close.
That neighbor actually, he just renovated his back area and he subsidized it. Yeah. So he's got two living locations.
Yeah.
I don't know why. You know, actually, here's a way we could do it because I found this legal loophole.
Ooh.
You have to be okay buying it as a cemetery. But if I did that, you wouldn't have any property tax. Did you know in the state of Oregon, if you bury...
Do I need to kill someone?
If you bury a family member on your property, and it's legal to do that, you don't have to pay property tax anymore because now it's classified as a cemetery.
Interesting.
But you don't technically have the resale value as a home.
Right.
Because it's a cemetery.
Right.
But but if you're going to plan there living for the rest of your life,
yeah,
or donate it inheritance to your kids,
yeah,
it's fine. But you'll never have to pay property tax again.
Interesting
loophole I found out last week.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I found out.
Not sure how I feel about that, but I'm also vaguely intrigued.
That was a fun, weird trip. Yeah. I'm like, I gotta confirm this. Okay.
But no, like I said, starting the tap house back up, but with someone else to help run it. getting a studio where we could do lots of different things, and we're always prepared to shoot a video, and you walk in there and you film and you do the review and you walk out, do 3 a day, you know.
Yeah,
We could turn it into a business venture.
Yeah, we could. I honestly, if I can implement the financial plans I envision for myself, 5 years, we probably could. We probably could do that.
Yeah.
And then maybe sooner if we combine forces, like, oh, here's yours, here's mine.
I'm looking within 3 years to branch out
Yeah.
to a local property of some sort.
Yeah.
Of a tap house, of a brewery, of something.
Got to diversify.
Exactly. Of diversifying my income. I mean, the home lab sales so far, by the way, craftcomputing.com, there's still time to get in on the beta units of my temperature and humidity sensor. By the way, the humidity sensor is confirmed coming to the beta. If this turns around and this becomes, a very lucrative business or a business that supplants craft computing video as my main income, that frees me up to do other ventures, because I don't necessarily need to be like beholden to the algorithm of like, I better produce 9 videos this month, or, if I could run a tap house and also do this and also make home lab products and, the YouTube thing.
The tap house could also be used as a studio, which is an additional tax write-off and additional tax write-off on the business. So there's a lot of benefits within that whole area that doesn't necessarily need to be a profit, but it's a write-off.
Yeah.
And therefore it is a net profit overall. And so, those are all logistics to come into.
Yeah.
To where then it's, so that's a lot of things could work.
So within the next 2 to 3 years, I legitimately might be exploring purchasing a tap house in the area.
Oh, yeah.
So
yes, we'll definitely be talking about that.
Yeah.
So I did ask this question in chat of legitimate questions. So let's see, because we only had like a few minutes left.
Yeah, go for it.
What did they? No, I'm just asking to see if you see any questions.
Oh, right. You were
my
inquiring about questions.
Gotcha. I inquired about questions. Said we only had a few minutes left. Do you see any questions? My contacts are actually kind of blurry right now, so it's hard to read.
Novella Hub says buried some subscribers for free property tax reasons. There's only a couple that I'd bury. Spending a year dead for tax reasons? Alice? Let's see. 7800X3D is best bang for the bucks. 14900K, best, but is toasted, overvolted. I'd even say still the 7800X3D, unless you have a 4090, and even then, like, what's 2% going to do for you? At the very top end of the charts, what the does 2% do or hinder you? You're never going to notice. You're never going to notice. But you know what you will notice? Not drawing 380 watts out of your socket and only drawing 170. That's one thing you'll notice. 200 less watts of heat output going into your room. You'll notice that. 7800X3D all day long. And twice on Tuesdays. What is that? This is my rack mountable SNMP Wi-Fi enabled temperature sensor. This is to mount into a rack mount enclosure, either horizontally on these 2 pegs or vertically with these 2 pegs, or just screw it into a wall wherever you need accurate temperature monitoring. This responds to SNMP, so standard network monitoring protocol, or simple network monitoring protocol if you want to use the actual acronym for it. It is a sensor that is accurate from -40C to +85C. It also, and it is factory calibrated to 0.3 of a degree Celsius, so less than 1 degree Fahrenheit. About 0.5 degree Fahrenheit. And has a fidelity of 0.01 degrees Celsius, so you get very smooth charting. Also does relative humidity, also accurate within plus minus 1% relative humidity, and also charts out into hundredths of a percent relative humidity. We're still finalizing the relative humidity piece of the firmware, but the temperature sensor piece of the firmware is out. It's ready to go. These start shipping literally on Monday. If you were part of the very first pre-order, the first 300 units start shipping out on Monday. $65. Looking to undercut an entire industry using very basic parts. And
PoE, or what's that current version? How do you power that one?
The current version is a micro USB for power. It is technically we recommend 500 milliamps, but we've recorded this at between 50 and 85 milliamps of actual draw. You can run this off literally any USB source that you have. Configuration is all done via USB serial. This is a USB serial adapter built into the device. You plug it in, you configure all of your options, you disconnect it, you plug it into power. It automatically connects to your Wi-Fi and responds via SNMP queries to temperature and humidity.
Now, did you say you were going to do a PoE?
We are doing a PoE version that is coming later this year. There will likely be an announcement late September, early October is when we're hoping to make the announcements. Lots of cool additional features coming to that as well.
There you go.
So this is in
version
hardware
2.
beta at the moment. We're selling these through Sunday. We're selling these through the 30th. After that, we are cutting off beta sales until we do our full retail announcement.
Nice. And each one of the betas are personally kissed by Jeff, so they'll have his personal DNA on them.
Jordo happens to be watching. Hi, Jordan. Rip off $65. It'd be cheaper if you used a 2-cent ESP69 and held a sensor with chewing gum wrapper. Yeah, it certainly would be. You're more than welcome to make that, and hey, send it over for review when you do. I'd be happy to take a look at it and tell you what you did wrong. The temperature sensor cannot be used for medical reasons. We are not certifying it for any regulatory approval as far as temperature is required. We're not getting FDA certification. We're not getting medical, certification. We are aiming this specifically at server rack installations, but wherever you need a highly accurate temperature sensor, this will be one of the best bangs for the buck that you can get as far as fidelity and accuracy goes. So. But we are not seeking FDA approval. So.
We're seeking ABV approval, though.
ABV approval, right.
Yeah, it's ABV approved.
Should I put a breathalyzer on one of them?
I'm telling you, you probably should. Or a bottle opener, either one. It's got to be on like limited edition.
You know what's funny?
Cases.
You know what's funny is the temperature sensor itself is a module that runs on I2C. Technically, there's also a breathalyzer that runs on I2C. Our PoE version is going to run modular sensors, and so you can plug them into a brain unit. This is a little foreshadowing for those interested. I don't think there's any reason we couldn't do a combination temperature, humidity breathalyzer.
How drunk are the people that manage your server?
I'm just saying, I don't think there's any limitation to that as far as rolling it out.
That would be hilarious. And as a bonus feature, you could test how much what your blood alcohol level is.
Right. Can you imagine a breathalyzer before it'll unlock your server rack? That'd be amazing.
That's it right there. That's what you need to have. That's the one.
Have a blow lock on your server rack.
Oh, but no, you have to have it. What is the peak? What is that peak called?
Oh, Balmer peak.
Balmer peak. You have to have it at the Balmer peak, so it's not under. You have to have it right there.
Yeah. BZ Cayman says air quality. Actually, what's really funny is the sensor itself that we are using, and I think we'll close on this because it is 8:30 at this point. The sensor we are using is a Bosch BME 280. It is a combination temperature, humidity, and pressure. Those are the three things that it measures. And it's a BGA pad that you solder to a board, and it communicates via I2C. They also have a BME 680, which is a temperature, humidity, pressure, air quality particulate sensor. That is electrically identical. So in theory, we could also sell air quality sensors as part of this. Now, I would need to make sure that I go through some validation process for what do you mean air quality? Like, if I'm going to sell an air quality device, I need to define what is air quality. I need to get a measurable approach to it. I need to know what is good, what is bad. I need to let you, the consumer, know what you should be aiming for. You know, are we measuring gases? Is it just ppm? Is it just all these other things? But there is a sensor available for only a couple dollars more, as far as BOM cost goes, that we could do air quality on the sensor as well. So,
I don't know. I think product number 2 actually should just be a straight breathalyzer.
right.
I think product number 2 should be a straight breathalyzer. I think that's what we should definitely do that. I would put in the money for development of that.
Yeah. Ooh, Raster says radon. I will look into a radon sensor.
There we go. All right. Well, there we go. 8:35.
Yep.
No Star Trek. We made it. We did it. Somehow. It's a miracle. Screw that.
Well, we'll make up for it next week.
But whatever.
Yeah,
I know. Whatever.
Anyway, thank you all so much for watching episode 340 of Talking Heads right here on Craft Computing every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. for the latest in beer and tech news. Or if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Podcasts, we are on every major podcast affiliate network. So thank you. Thank you for the replay. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. If you like the beer content on this channel, make sure to check out Hops and Brews. That is John's channel over here. He does, basically at this point, weekly beer reviews.
Trying to.
Nope. Trying to. But goes very in-depth into that kind of thing. Basically, if you like the last 3 minutes of my videos every single week, you will love the 8 minutes that John spends really diving into a beer and why it is worth learning how to dissect a flavor profile and what does this beer mean and where does it come from and all that kind of stuff. He does an excellent job over on his channel.
Thanks, sir. Yeah. Join the Discord too. If you left even just part of this content and you like the ideas of talking and in the chat and you want to continue that throughout the week, you got to join the Discord. It's a minimum $1 a month. But you can donate more. That's always welcome by us. But there are a number of channels. And it's not just tech. We have pop culture stuff, of TV entertainment stuff. We have drinking and food stuff. We have a whole merchant area where the Discord itself, we sell stuff to each other that we know is worth a value, and we want to give the community that we have first choice. And there's some cool stuff, car stuff, everything. We are a broad community. Yes, there's a big. If you love Star Trek too, you got to understand just the bare minimum to understand the rooms. But it's pretty easy to catch on really fast. Yeah. And I think you're going to enjoy it because it's one of the best Discords and most active. I am a member of quite a few Discords. Some I even have to pay for. This one, definitely the most active. I know I have not been the most active on the channel recently, but that is because I've been very busy.
He's coming
recently
back.
Now, you will see me. You will see me more now, very active and very friendly to other content creators. We even have a whole area for you to post your stuff if you are a content creator.
Yep.
So come and join us.
On approval only. It is friends of the channel. It is content that I like and approve of.
Yes, obviously.
You're not going to get me to share a random Twitch stream, but if you do similar content or things that I enjoy, then yeah, you can become an ambassador to your channel, as we call it, and you can post in the Discord and let my channel know of when you post stuff.
You will easily get a feel right away within the first 48 hours of what we are talking about.
Yeah.
And there are notes on every channel of what each room is about. Or sorry, there's notes on every room of what each room is about.
Yep.
Very plain English. You know what the rules are.
Yep.
We have great moderators too. Shout out to the moderators. They do a lot of hard work. You guys know who you are. I don't, there.
You guys know who you are. I don't.
No, it's not. I don't. I do know. I didn't. I want to say. I didn't want to say all of their names.
What a slip! That was amazing.
Sorry, Claw. Sorry, Novello. Sorry. Please clip that. You can admonish me in the Discord.
That was so great. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. We will see you next Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news. And until then, have a great night.